Hi, I'm Rob Sansone. There's a lot of people involved in every real estate transaction. Today, I want to pull back the curtain and introduce you to some of the professionals involved. My goal is to be informative, educational, and to have some fun along the way. But most of all is to help you make better decisions when buying and selling your next property. So why don't you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, and thanks for watching. Hi, this is Rob Sansone from Bosley Real Estate with Michael Schmidt from HouseMaster Home Inspections. We're here to talk about a home inspection and why somebody would look at doing that. We're just going to ask Michael a few questions here to give you a quick insight for our clients so everyone has a good appreciation of what to expect. Thanks, Michael, for joining us.
Thank you, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Great. So, Michael, what do people get when they get a home inspection?
Well, when they get a home inspection, you're going to get a objective visual assessment of the home from top to bottom. So we're going to be looking at, first and foremost, the outside of the house. So the siding, the grounds, the roof. Then we're going to go inside the house. Generally speaking, we work from the top down. So we're going to take a look at the attic. We're going to go through every room in the house. We're going to test a representative number of windows and doors, as well as outlets and switches. We're going to run all the fixtures in every bathroom and kitchen. HouseMaster also does built-in kitchen appliances, which goes above and beyond what most home inspectors do here in the GTA. And then we're going to end up in the basement. We're going to take a look at the foundation, water penetration issues in the basement, which are very important. And then we're going to run the major systems. So heating, cooling if we're in the summertime. We can't run cooling in the winter months.
Obviously.
And then we're also going to test the water heater.
Okay, and so would you suggest that people get a home inspection when they're looking at selling their home, when they initially buy a home? When would be the best time for someone to get a home inspection, and who should be looking at getting one?
Okay, well, home inspection serves all parties, and there's different home inspections for different buyers or sellers. So in the GTA in Toronto, as you know, we have a bit of a seller's market here, and oftentimes it helps a seller bring more offers to the table and get a higher figure in a shorter amount of time if they get a pre-listing inspection. So that would be a seller's inspection.
Right.
That's basically the same home inspection I would be doing for a buyer, but we do it in advance for a seller so they can present it to buyers while they're accepting offers.
Normally I get this done for my clients when I'm selling their homes as well, and I find it helps at the offer table. When there's people coming to the table, there's a lot less surprises that come to the table, and everyone's aware what the expectations are and where there may or may not be deficiencies within the home. So I just want to get into that for a minute and understand what some of the deficiencies or things people might run into when you're saying. You said that you test receptacle outlets, you test windows. What are some of the typical issues that people would find when they're looking into a home?
All right. Well, it's a good question, and every home is different, and there's no perfect home out there. It's very important for any buyer or seller to understand going into a home inspection that no home is perfect. A home inspection isn't about finding a defect-free home. It's about giving a realistic understanding of the current condition of the home. So some of the big issues that we might run into, I'm testing the receptacles. In downtown Toronto, we do have an older housing stock.
Right.
So one of the issues you might encounter is ungrounded wiring, which can be an indication of things like knob and tube wiring.
Okay, so there's knob and tube wiring. I also recall that there's other types of wires that are used, which could still be an issue. Is that something that we also find in the home?
Yeah, for sure. There's certain eras of homes where different wiring types were used, particularly, say, in the 70s. Aluminum wiring was heavily used in building construction. And so when I maybe go out into the suburbs, into Mississauga, to Pickering, where they have many more of those 70s area homes, but you can find them in Toronto too, and people did renovations in the 70s, you might find aluminum wiring. So one thing that I'll also be doing is taking off the cover panel for the electrical panel, and that is one place where you can determine what type of wiring types there are used. Not 100% because they can always be hidden behind closed walls, but taking off that panel cover is a big way of getting more information on the wiring types that were used in the home.
Okay. What other issues would people find aside from wiring that people normally experience or encounter?
Well, two of the big things that people have most concern about from a buyer's perspective, by the way, I do buyer's inspections predominantly. That's at least 80% of home inspections across the country are buyer's inspections. So when I'm doing buyer's inspections, my buyers are oftentimes most concerned about the roof, meaning both the exterior part of the roof, the shingles, as well as the roof structure, which is what I see in the attic, and roof leaks. Nobody wants a leaky roof. And then the second most important thing would be foundation. So foundation issues, both from a structural point of view as well as from a basement leakage point of view.
Okay. Now, we've been talking a lot about home inspections within a house. Do we do home inspections for condos as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I highly recommend getting a condo inspection. They're not as involved as a home inspection because there's not as much as that is directly owned by an individual. Okay. So a condo inspection is a more reduced inspection. It takes about half the time of a standard home inspection. Standard home inspection takes about 2.5 to 3 hours, whereas a condo would take about an hour and a half tops, maybe even less. And it's concentrated on interior of the home. We're still looking at all the same things with certain limitations. So things that would be deemed as common elements, in other words, they're owned by the condo corporation, not the common corporation, but they're owned by the condo corporation. Those elements are not looked at. So oftentimes roof, siding, garage, that kind of stuff is left off. But the interior, all the bathroom fixtures, the windows, the doors, the light switches, the outlets, the kitchen appliances, the heating system, the cooling system, the electrical panel, all that stuff's going to be looked at in a condo inspection. And it's less money as well.
Great. I understand that there's also a challenge in a lot of home inspections that are done for condos, or at least in a lot of condos out there, people talk about something called Kitech plumbing. Do you want to give a little explanation as to what Kitech plumbing is, and is that something people should be concerned about?
Oh yeah, for sure. Kitech is an issue. Kitech plumbing was a particular brand of PEX piping. Not all PEX is Kitech, but all Kitech is PEX. But Kitech was a particular brand name of PEX piping that had failures, predominantly in the Southwest United States, but we have had some issues in Canada and even had some issues in Toronto. While there hasn't been widespread failures of Kitech in Toronto, here in the GTA, there have been preemptive removals of Kitech systems. So when a condo corp decides to remove that system, that may mean an assessment is done, and therefore the current owner has to contribute to that assessment. Okay. In other words, they may have to pay money to get rid of the Kitech. So you don't want to have a leak, but you also don't want to have this assessment. So those are the issues related to Kitech.
Usually Kitech's handled in a preventative maintenance situation as opposed to waiting until there's an issue that has to be addressed.
Oftentimes, yes.
Okay. Just speaking about things that need to be addressed, you mentioned something about checking the basements for wetness and dampness in that. Mm-hmm. Is that done through, how do you do that?
Okay, that's a good question. So there's a couple of different ways that you look for basement leaks or even plumbing leaks. But I'll focus on basement leaks right now. So if you're going into an unfinished basement, that may be an ideal situation from a home inspector point of view, because you can actually see the basement walls, whether they be brick, block, stone, or concrete. Right. You can just see visibly on the material whether it's absorbed water or not, or if there is running water running down the side of it.
That would be bad.
Yeah, that would be bad, but I would also say that it can be common. Even in newer homes, you can see sometimes at the corners of the home, particularly, there may be seepage that's coming in. You know what I mean? I'm not talking waterfall type of water, but wet spots on the wall and at the floor plate. And usually, 90% of the time, this is due to poor grading, poor downspout direction, that are forcing water into that area that's coming through the foundation. That's something that you want to take care of so it doesn't lead to structural problems. It doesn't lead to deterioration of building materials. It doesn't lead to mold and wood destroying insects such as termites and things coming to the home. Other ways that so that's an unfinished basement. We look for it. We look for signs of that. We see the visible cues. Now on an unfinished basement, there's a couple of different tools that I use. I have some of them here. So I can go around the basement with this. This is my infrared camera. I turn it on and I can do a scan of the basement. That's best in a finished basement that isn't cluttered with storage or furniture, okay? Because that can give me the most clear line of sight to see if there's any patterns on the wall that may be indicative of moisture issues. Now, whether I use that or not, I'm always going to use this as well, which is my moisture meter. If I do find an aberration on the wall, something that I think is indicative of moisture, I will use this, which is my moisture meter, as a confirmation. I turn that on, I press it against the substance, and a beep goes off and a light goes on that tells me if it has elevated moisture content in it.
Cool.
Even if I don't use this, particularly like in a cluttered basement or one with a lot of furniture and such, I go around to all of the outside walls and press this along the baseboards and the lower portion of that wall and around window wells, obvious areas where water oftentimes collects.
Okay, that's great. Couple more questions I just wanted to ask. You mentioned something about termites. Is that a part of your common home inspection process? Is that one of the things you look for when you're doing a home inspection?
Yeah, for sure. So in answer to your question, we are not termite exterminators or termite inspectors, but all good home inspectors have some knowledge of wood-destroying insects, including termites, and know the basics of what to look for. So as I'm looking on the outside and on the inside of the home, I am looking for certain visual cues, termite tubes, maybe former termite remediation, which may come in drilled holes in the side of walls in order to administer the poison that they have for the termites. And then on the inside, looking for what appears to maybe be rotted wood or chewed wood that's been chewed up by termites or other wood-destroying insects. These are all things that a home inspector looks for. That being said, one caveat that I want to give to you and the audience at home is that we can only inspect what we can see. So we're taking, we're using what we can see maybe in that utility room, maybe in that small part of the basement that is left unfinished, but everything that is finished behind that, we won't be able to see and we won't be able to assess with 100% certainty.
Okay, well that's a fair assessment. That's a fair statement to make.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to attest anything you can't see.
Sure.
So two more quick questions for you. One was about what things do you not include in a typical home inspection that somebody would expect? Like I know you said you're not a termite inspector, so that wouldn't be something I would expect to be in every traditional home inspection, but that would be an add-on service, I would imagine.
Sure.
Are there other add-on services that could be looked at or purchased that are not necessarily in a standard home inspection package?
Yeah, sure. So a standard home inspection is going to include the things that I discussed earlier. Right. And there are some additional supplementary services that we offer that many homeowners or home buyers decide to go through with, or even home sellers or homeowners who need certain services that we can provide. Some of these may be a mold inspection, or particularly like mold sampling or air sampling. So if you are allergic to mold, or if you're experiencing problems at home with upper respiratory tract, you have a suspicion that there may be mold in the home, but you don't know where it is, a thing like an air sampling test would go a long way to help determine whether or not that might be a potential issue in your house. If you're buying a house and you know you have that issue, you have an allergy, you may want to do that at the home inspection stage, like during your home inspection, so you can get those results back before you follow through with the purchase and you know how to proceed. Whether it be to proceed with the purchase or proceed with the purchase with the knowledge that you want to take care of some stuff before you move in. Other things that we do that aren't part of a normal inspection, but we do as well, we do some asbestos sampling. So depending on the type of substance that is identified or that a customer has concerns with, we may be able to do that during the home inspection. Okay. We may have to wait to do that at a later time. And radon sampling as well, or radon screening. So we can do a test with a little radon canister. We let that sit for a couple of days. We come back, we retrieve it, send it to the lab, and they determine whether you have elevated levels of radon or not.
So what it sounds like to me is you should find out from your home inspector what exactly you're including and what isn't included in the home inspection, so they have a better assessment as to if it's hitting all the check marks that they want to hit when they're getting their inspection done.
That's true. I'll also add to that I don't think you need to do too much research on that front, because most home inspectors are governed by a certain what's called a standards of practice. These are things that govern most home inspectors. In Ontario, many home inspectors are part of the Ontario Association of Home Inspectors, and as such, they abide by the Ontario Association's standards of practice. And so most home inspectors are including the things that I have discussed. As I mentioned, HouseMaster goes above and beyond in certain areas, like with kitchens, and others might go above or below in other ways, depending on what they do. I think the big important thing for you to ask when you're choosing a home inspector is, what is your accreditation? Are you a certified home inspector? Are you well trained? Are you a member of the association, the Ontario Association of Home Inspectors? Those may help guide your decision.
Thanks, Mike. The only other thing I wanted to understand is, so I get my home inspection done, either just purchased a home and I got one done, or I bought a home that there was a few items that I wanted to get identified afterwards. Home inspectors don't do any of the remediation work, but sometimes I've seen estimates put inside with what the work may or may not cost. Is it makes sense to come back to a home inspector after purchasing a home where there was a pre-home inspection done and doing a valid walkthrough to get a better understanding of what some of those daunting red flags that might be brought up in the home inspection? Is that worthwhile activity to do?
Yeah, very possibly. So as part of a pre-listing inspection, pre-listing inspection should be identifying all of the significant defects that are found in a home. And most home inspectors in the area, including HouseMaster, offer a walkthrough where they come back for a buyer, and they will basically walk them through the inspection on site so that the purchaser can fully understand everything, get all their questions asked, and really understand what they're purchasing. For HouseMaster, I do offer that service. I charge half the price of the original inspection, so you get it at a discount as a buyer. And in addition, with HouseMaster, you get the HouseMaster guarantee as well.
And how would people be able to reach you, Mike, if they wanted to get a home inspection done through HouseMaster?
All right. Well, the best way to start is to go to housemaster.com. Type in your postal code, and if you're in the GTA, you'll find me, or if you're in Toronto, you'll find me. You can also Google HouseMaster Toronto, and you can also call me at 416-MASTER-1.
Wow, that's a lot of great information. Thank you very much, Michael, for your time. This is Rob Sansone. Hope that was informative and helpful for all of you. I know I learned a few things. If you're ever walking through a visual inspection, keep your eyes open and see what's around you. There might be things that you'll find that you didn't think you were looking for. Thanks so much for your time, Michael, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. This is Rob Sansone. If you need to reach me, you can reach me at www.robsansone.com, and I'll be more than happy to help you with any questions you may have. Take care.